so I can post it later. So usually what I do when I record, I post it on Canvas, so you can review it, and I also post it on YouTube. So if for some reason Canvas doesn't work for you or on your laptop or anything, you can watch it on YouTube. And then, so let me go ahead and share again. My power. Okay. So here's what we're gonna do today. We are gonna go over the survey of ethical issues. We are gonna cover a observational study, which would have been much fun if we were in, but online, so we just have to, suck it up. And then we have Kai. I'm gonna go over that extensively. So because there is something that I want you guys to submit to earn today's lab credit. So for ethical issues, as you know, if you watch the lecture, there are few things that we are concerned about when it comes to ethical research that we're in. I am through the process. There are organization at UCI and different places for like animal control and for human subject that we have to submit our application for the research, and they would allow us to run subjects. So it's not like we're gonna ask people randomly to come to the lab and be part of our research. So you just have to apply for it and get get accepted by this organization to run any kind of experiment that has to do with human or with animal. And usually what they look, there is an extensive for IRB, which is I'm going through it right now. There's an extensive application, and they are looking for for the informed if the research has any deception, confidentiality, and risk and benefit factors and stuff like that. So they ask, indeed, you have to write an essay format, and so they can pass whether to see if the research that you're doing passes the ethical issue or not. So let's go briefly over each one of them. So the informed that we let subjects know. We get a signature from the subjects that they agree and they exactly know what's going to happen in the research, and they're happy and they want to do it. Some research includes a deception, so we don't tell them what we are going to test or what variable we're looking at, and that's underneath the deception that they don't exactly know what's going on in the research, or their behavior has been observed, how it's measured, and so on and so forth. And then we have confidentiality, and with this we have to their name, their information is going to be safe. It's their results is going to be private, and it's we're not going to share it with any department, or we're not going to publish their name. And then we have to go over the risk factors. What kind of risk our research includes? Is there any harm? Is there any benefits? Is there any that they need to know? And then benefit, we lastly, is there any benefit for the subjects? Whether we pay them hourly, we give them credit, or we give them individual studies that you earn, which is good for you. So if you get involved in a research, I think it's better instead of getting paid, at least 1/4 get involved in individual study. You earn credit as a course. Usually 4 units, and then it's going to show up on your transcripts, and it shows the professors or the places that you're applying that you're involved actually in the research. And so yeah, that's the ethical issue. And guys to do, so let me go ahead and share just in case if you know how to get to the worksheet for today. that I want you guys to be working on. I'm sure. So much. Okay. All right. So hopefully you guys can see. Let me know if you can't. You can see my web browser. Here's the overview of the module. Okay. And then you scroll down. This is week 2. Go to week 2 exercises. Okay. And this is the detailed schedule of what we're doing. And if you scroll down, you see the lecture and PowerPoint, and then a little further, you see a lab material. So we have 3 worksheets that we are going to go over today. So if you download it to your computer, and you can take a look at it. So ethical scenarios, I've already downloaded them on my laptop. Let me see if I can open it up. Ethical scenarios. All right. So okay. Is this the one? Research methods, CAI analysis. No, this is not the one. Let's go with ethical scenarios. Okay. Yeah. What I want you guys to do, I want you guys, I will put you guys in 2 groups. Now that I'm gonna in groups, and then I want you guys to, one group is gonna go over the proposal 1, and then the other I want to go over proposal 2. And then after reading this as a group, I want you guys to come up with answers, whether, ethical issues, there's no right or wrong answer. So as a group, think about what are the ethical issues relevant to this proposal, and what are the possible consequences, whether there's a risk, there's a benefit, or this is in the main one, 112M on Canvas, not on lab, but on the actual lecture. So, and then the other question that I want you guys to come up with the answer is, the alternative exists for conducting this research. Is there any other methods, better and safer methods to conduct? And whether there are ethical consequences of these alternative methods that you are you were the IRB panel consent, would you agree and would you approve this research or not? So again, they are looking at the confidentiality, the ethical purpose of the research that we do. Okay, so again, this is a group discussion. Please talk to each other, and then choose a representative. I can't talk to them. A representative, and he's gonna, or she's share your answer with us today. Okay. So the instruction to proposal is that below you will find summaries of 2 research proposals. Imagine that you are a member of an IRB. 1, and IACUS, this is for the animal observation, and for proposal, each proposal, and evaluate each. So your panel should try to reach consensus each quiz, okay, and come up with the answers. And let's take about I would say like 15-20 minutes over and come up with the 4 answers. Let me go ahead and break you guys up into groups really fast. If I remember how I did this last time. Okay, 2. Okay, so we have 2 groups. All right. For room number 1, I want you guys to do the first, and then for room number 2, the second group, I want you guys to do the second. Okay. All right. Please go and join the rooms, and I will be checking on you to see what's going on. Esther, I need you to join room number 1 or room number 2. Can you please join room number 2? Esther Pladigian, can you please join room number 2, please?
All right, cool. So hopefully you guys came up with an answer. And let's go review together. Go ahead and share. Ethical scenarios, share. All right, perfect. So the first proposal says the proposed study seeks to identify the personality factor associated with the change in college students. Participants will be students enrolled in two different sections of introductory psychology at the state university. Will complete a personality test during the first week of the course, and two situations we will created to give sheet. Situation one will be the first examination in the course, an hour-long multiple choice test. Will be allowed to grade their own test in the following class period. However, that the examination will be graded and scores will be recorded in the situation two will be the second examination in the course, an essay test. A week in advance, student will be given a list of questions and told two of the questions will be on the exam, right? Examination booklets will be made available prior exam for practice. At the time of the test, examination booklet distributed by the instructor will be unobtrusively marked so that any student substituting a practice booklet will be detected. Now, after all this, so let's see group one. What did you guys come up with as an ethical issue that is relevant to this proposal? So when it comes to ethical issue, I want you guys to cover confidentiality. I want you guys to cover benefits, risk factors, and so on and so forth that we talked about on the slide. So who's going to tell us on group one?
So for an ethical issue that we think we came up with is that maybe the student does not know that they're in an experiment, because it does state that the participant will be student enrolled in two different introduction psychology classes. So they may not know that they're in an experiment, meaning that they didn't give like informed consent to be in an experiment, which is like a big ethical issue. And that's just like the major issue that we came up with, saw in this experiment.
We also thought that it was unethical that the researchers like created a situation where they could cheat. We thought it would have been better if it was more observational, where they would see if students would come up with ways of like on their own to cheat. But like the fact that they created situations for them to cheat, we thought that was unethical.
Awesome. So that's it's going to go underneath the deception, right? So that's a deception. What about the risk and benefit factors for this study?
For risk, we said that students who participate in the study can be treated differently from professors who saw them participate in this study and maybe they have cheated. Or I saw that we all thought they said that they would give students a makeup exam. And usually when someone cheats and they are caught cheating, they get a 0 and are sometimes reported to the dean. So it's not fair for maybe for the rest of the students in the class and stuff, or even in other classes.
And then we also
perfect. So
said that
the stressful situation is under risk. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No worries. And then we also said that since this is analyzing their personality factors, the confidentiality might come to play, like if the information isn't handled or stored properly, and maybe they can easily be re-identified after the study, and then other professors would know that they cheat and so on.
Okay, perfect. Awesome.
We couldn't really think of many benefits for like.
So we technically kind of answered. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say that we couldn't come up with many benefits for like the students.
Oh. So what about number 2? So number 2, you guys covered the risk and benefit for the participants. What about those people who run research? What are the risk and benefit factors for them?
So one benefit I can think of for the researcher, the instructor, is that they can use this data to implement to the future classes, so where they can use student personality traits to see who might potentially cheat, so they can keep so they can have a better look, or keep a lookout on them during tests and stuff to prevent cheating in the future. So that's one benefit from this study.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think again, like the risks involved, the confidentiality involved, and the fact that they're unaware.
Exactly. So the structures are not really honest about what they're measuring and how they are running the experiment. Okay. With number 3, what are the alternative methods that you think is best to conduct this research?
We try to see if we maybe had a pool of students take a personality exam, and then they would be asked if they have ever kind of cheated in general, and see if there's a correlation between a certain type of personality and whether they cheated or not. And this would all be done anonymously.
Mm-hmm.
And then also emphasizing that
And the other
these
is that
students
study this in. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Just that these students volunteer for it and that they're aware that they're doing this.
Exactly. So for the alternative methods, you can kind of run the experiment in a more naturalistic observation, having it set up. And with IRB, what was your answer for number 4? Whether IRB would they agree?
Sorry, you can go ahead.
For number 4, we said no, because students are not aware that they are participating in a study in the first place. It also interferes with like midterms or final exams, and like we said before, students are given a second chance even after they cheated, when that wouldn't be a regular consequence in the like real world.
Awesome. Perfect. Yep. So it's more based on IRB members to respond to the questions, whether what value they're emphasizing. But that was perfect. Good job. Very good. Group number 2, we did the learned helplessness on dogs, and so now this one's animal. It's not the IRB, but the different organization that look into this. And for number 2, the proposed study seeks to extend the previous research that learned helplessness in dogs. Result of this similar study shed light on possible therapy procedure for human who have experienced traumatic events and then show passive response to future events, right? So there's a benefit factor right here. So and there are risks. Helpless kind of a risk. These results also provide insight into the nature of depression, right? And then here, helplessness is, that I think most of us know. And so the proposed research will examine how helpless dogs can be thought to escape the shock in the shadow box. In a modeling procedure will be used in which helpless dogs will be paired with dogs that have not been shocked. It is hypothesized that the normal dog will easily learn to avoid the shock in the shuttle box and correctly model to escape behavior for the helpless dog. Okay, so with that being said, let's see what are the ethical issues for this proposal.
For our group, the most obvious ethical issue here is physical harm to the animal with the electrical shocks, even if it's like low level, or let's even be low level. The fact that you're shocking an animal probably would be something pretty major to look at. And like a secondary consequence, a secondary issue from that is that if you are teaching dogs to be helpless, then that might be an effect that lasts past the experiment. That's a lasting behavior that you're putting onto the animal, especially if whatever proposed treatment or modeling that you have in the experiment doesn't work out, then that means all those dogs are gonna keep on being helpless.
Very nice. And can you cover also the benefit and risk factors?
Right. So I guess for the benefits, this research could be a stepping stone to apply to human therapies and human behavioral therapies, especially for people suffering from PTSD and depression, maybe even anxiety. But the costs of that would be, of course, the physical well-being of animals, of dogs. So for the dogs, they might be able to benefit with this if they're able to examine the modeling therapy that's created, and you can have a version for animals or a version for humans. So that's one benefit. Of course, they are bearing the brunt of this. It is the dogs that are getting shocked and not humans. And for the researchers, the benefits is they develop an understanding of therapy and how behaviors are created. But the costs of this is one that I thought of was, if you are a dog lover, or if you just animal lover in general, shocking animals probably would not be a good day for you. It probably would not be a good day on your job. But also, another member had pretty much proposed that maybe indirect cost is researchers maybe wouldn't care that much about dogs, and so, or more like it desensitized them to having animals do this physical shock, which is another thing you have to look for. So again, for humans in general, they have the benefit of therapy, and society is through that. Yeah.
Awesome. And what are the alternative methods that you think we can conduct this research?
Oh, I have a question. So for this is like it's for dogs. Does that mean we have to stick with dogs? Like we can't use human subjects?
Yeah, it's mostly for animals. So this is the experiment run for dogs to see whether the behavior will provide anything for us that we can apply to human beings, because we can electric shock humans, right? So that's not really acceptable. But yeah.
Right. So we were thinking actually, if like one way we could maybe do it with human subjects is maybe forgo the shock, but by keeping the element of helplessness to a simulation, like i.e. a video game. So our idea was that maybe you'd have a setup video game either just for the experiment or a popular video game that people might know of now. And you have two conditions, which is a fair condition and an unfair / helpless condition. And the fair condition, you just set up participants to play against other participants in a competitive multiplayer match, whatever it is. And after you randomly assign for skill level, you ensure that overall people are playing among the same levels with each other. But in the unfair condition, you have a confederate that's inserted to either team whose skill level is way higher than any other team. And so you end up pretty much having one team that has an MVP and the other team that doesn't. So in the same ways, you can more directly observe human reactions of helplessness without having to think of any type of physical harm or stuff like that, but it's still pretty applicable, because I'm pretty sure getting your ass beat in a video game over and over isn't really fun. and probably would be rather irritating. So that was our idea of maybe trying to fit humans into there. But if not, I guess an animal example is just to recruit dogs who already have come from like abusive situations or abusive settings, so that it's not like we're the ones that have created it. We just, if this dog already is presenting with helplessness, then we'll just try to help it along, but we're not creating new ones.
That's really good. Yeah, that's perfect. And then, or you can create a situational in the lab that you kind of teach them helplessness with rewards, food, and so on and so forth. And then, what about the last question? Would you consent to this research as an IRB, participant, or what are the modification that you make?
Right. For most of us, the group had thought that it depended on the time. Back then, when it was research like in the 70s, animal rights and welfare had been in place, so it wasn't seen as much of a concern as today. And definitely with today, a lot more people in the public are aware of animal experimentation and what goes on there. So they're a lot more sensitive to such proposals, especially ones with direct physical harm involved. So probably as of today, it probably needs some type of modification, and modifications probably would be like as you propose, like with the treats rewards, so a simulation instead of pure physical pain.
Perfect. Very nice. Good job. Yeah, that was perfect. Those were all perfect answers. Very good. So know that these learned helplessness and stuff and ethical issues somehow might appear on the test, right? So make sure that you have a good understanding of them. So let's go ahead and move to the second part of our today's lab. And go ahead and share my screen. So if you go ahead and open up the second, let me go ahead and share which screen you want. Okay, so if you go ahead and open up the second lab material, second document right here, observational study. So there is actually a lecture video that she posted about this, and hopefully you guys have watched that because that makes it easier for you. So this is a observational study. So if we were actually in person, we would go out and observe people behavior and mark it down. So this week we will conducting an observational study. Our focus will be not be so much on the question we are asking, but on the method and organization required to investigate this question in a careful way, all right? And then, so we are going to record the number of aggressive acts. So this is what I'm going to show you guys a video. It's a cartoon, right? It's about 6-7 minutes. And then I want you guys to open up this document. If you have it printed out, that would be good. If not, take a piece of paper, try to draw this chart. And then I want you guys to tally mark, like for example, right here, every time that you see an aggressive behavior and or a pro-social act in the video, and every time that Duffy the duck acts aggressive, or anytime that he does pro-social, I want you guys to leave a tally mark on the chart, right? And for the Bugs Bunny as well. So the purpose of this is that to teach you guys the second part. It's going to be, we're going to go move on to the chi analysis, and I want you guys to hypothesize the testing, whether come up with the null and hypothesis, and then be able to calculate the chi analysis. All right, to whether C are null or hypothesis they carry any sort of significance p-value. All right. So again, I want you guys to tally mark on the chart whether the aggressive behavior you see for each of these characters or you see pro-social acts. And to have a definition of an aggressive acts and pro-social acts. Aggressive acts are shouting, yelling, hitting, shooting, and stuff like that. And pro-social is like being friendly, nice conversation, motivating, and so on and so forth, right? So let's go ahead and see if I can share. Right. So let's go ahead and stop the share. So did you guys were able to tally mark your chart? Hopefully. So now what we are going to do is to let me go ahead and I have so many windows open. Get done with this. Okay. Go ahead and share. All right, cool. No, this is not it. Observational study. So hopefully we have some sense of how many aggressive acts did each character and how many pro-social acts each character did in the video. And so the second part of this worksheet wants you guys to use the hypothesis test for the chi-square or for the chi analysis. And it wants you to come up with a null hypothesis and a alternative hypothesis. So with the chi, what is so the best way to do this? Let me go ahead and go over. I assume that you guys haven't looked at the lecture material yet. So let me go ahead and instead of throwing this at you, let me go ahead and explain in detail the chi analysis and everything, and then this one, and then the next worksheet is going to make much more sense if you're not familiar with it. So bear with me just a second. Let me go ahead and share the lecture slide. Okay. So that will. Okay. Let me just go over it briefly so you have an idea, because the rest of this worksheet, you have to do chi analysis and you have to do some calculations. And then the Okay, sorry, I'm not sure what happened. My internet is really bad. Sorry, guys. Next Monday I'll stay home. I'll try to stay home and use the Wi-Fi home. So let's go with. Let me go ahead and share this one more time. So hopefully you guys can see my screen. Let me know. Interrupt me at any time if there was something wrong with my connection. So we are going to go over the chi-square test. So we have usually what we have to do. We have to whether if we wanted to see if something in the research happens by chance or if it's correlated or if it's scientifically significant. What we have to do, we have to count data. So when we run experiment, we have to count data. So and then we divide the counting experiment and procedure into two ways. One of them is one-way table counts, and what do we mean by one table count? It means that we have one category, right? And then we have two table counts. That means we have two categories, whether it's sex, male, female, whether it's member of UCI faculty or anxiety, depression, and stuff like that. We have a two category to measure that. So for example, this is an example of two-way table, right? And the question that this table wants to ask is that given the more faculty are more men or women, and is there a significance that we can come up with? So we have female and we have male. This is the total, and then we have different ranks for female and male. So we have assistant professor, we have associate professor, and we have a full professor. The full professor is the ultimate goals, and then associate is the professor who have the tenure, but it's working towards getting the full professorship. And then assistant professor is it's just it's on the tenure track, right? So as we go, the positions get more important. And then we can see the female assistants. We have 60%, 60 female, and then we have 29 male. And then for the associate, we have 63 and then 124. And then for the full professorship, we have 92 women and 401 male, which if you add the total female that we have in this experiment is 215, and the total male is going to be 654, right? And then if we wanted to find out the percentage, right, this is important. So if you want to find the percentage of each, what we have to do is that, so to find the percentage, we have for the female, we have 215, right? And then the total of 215, if we wanted to calculate for the assistants, so, and then we wanted to figure out the number of female, we have 215 times 189, that's the total of assistants. So we want to figure out the female female assistant out of the total. So we have, for the female, we have 215 female. And then for the total of assistant, we have 189, right? 100 times 189 divided by the total, it's going to give us the 60, right? And then you can do that for every single one of them. So 215 for the associate times 187 divided by the total, it's going to give us 63. And then for the male, we do the same thing, 654 total male. For the assistant times 189 divided by the total, it's going to give us this number, right? Oh. Questions? Any questions, concerns? So after finding the numbers, we can use we can calculate the percentage, and then as we have the percentage, so we have 25% of the total of female and then we have 75% for the male, right? So we can see that, and then we have to run the chi-square to see whether they are significant or not. So as for the null hypothesis for the chi-square states that there's no significance, right? There's not much difference between the female and between the male. And for the hypothesis that we want to say that, okay, there is a significance, right? And I'm going to show you guys, we base that off of the chart that I'm going to go over in a few minutes. Okay. So again, to understand the null hypothesis, is for the chi-square is that the portion of the female is the same at all ranks. So there's not much difference. So, and then to run the chi hypothesis, we also need a expected value count. So these number in green are the expected value, right? In order to calculate the expected counts, these were computed assuming the overall percentage of the male. So we have the overall percentage, right? And then we have for the male and for the female. And in order to get the green value, which are the expected counts for each character, for each female, for the assistant, for the associate, to get the expected value counts, the 60 and 63 and these numbers in black are observed value that we calculated. But in order to get the expected value, what we do, for example, in order to get the 47.25, because the total female are 25% of 189, which are for the assistant, right? So we want to calculate this number right here, the female assistant. The total number of female that we have, it's 25% of the total, 25% of 189. What we do is 189, if you wanted to calculate 189 times 215 divided by the total, we do get the expected value. So that's 25% of 189. Okay, and we can do this for every single one of them. Again, 367, I'm sorry. So for in order to get the 369.75, which is the full associateship or full professorship for the male, what do we do? So this one is this. So for the male is we have 75% of the 493. So 493 times 493 times the total of male divided by the total, that's going to give us the expected value, which I covered earlier. So you have to punch these numbers into the chi formula. So the chi formula is what it says is that the observed counts, right? So the observed counts are these number given, right? So or if I give you one of them, you can't figure out the other one, because if I give you 60, you can figure out 129 because you have the total. Or if I give you two of these numbers, if I give you 60 and 92, you can't figure out 63 for female because you have the total, right? So the observed counts minus the expected counts, which I showed you just now how to calculate, squared, divided by expected counts. And what do we do here? This sign means sum. So once we figure this out, make sure that you do the parentheses first, and then you divide it by the expected count, right? So we do observed first, observed minus expected. We come up with a value, square that, and then divide it by the expected count. And then you sum this up. And because you repeat this quite a few times for each data that you have. So now let's calculate this. So we have the observed value in black, and we have the expected value. So the observed chi-square is going to be observed value minus the expected value square divided by this space value. And then you have to sum this up for every data point that you have. So we have 60, we do 63, 92, 129, 124 for a while. And then you get and once you add all this up, you come up with the results that is 22.81. And then, so now you want to understand what this value means, whether is this important, is this not important, what's going on. So now, again, the larger the value means that the actual and expected counts differ more. So, and then, so we want to see within what range it becomes significant for us. Now, what else you need to, after you calculate chi number, you have to calculate the degrees of freedom, right? The degrees of freedom, usually you have to calculate it for the two-way tables, right? And how you calculate it is that R minus 1 and C minus 1, and you times these two square parentheses together. You multiply R minus 1 by C minus 1. R is stand for the rows, and C is the number of column of the degree. So, for example, because we had R3, that means row 3 in the above example. So we had 3 rows, right? And then we had 2 columns, all right? 3 rows, we had 2 columns. And in order to calculate the degree of freedom, 3 rows minus 1, it's 2. And then we had 2 columns minus 1 is 1. And the total answer is going to be 2 degrees of freedom. Now, why we need this? Because right here, we have a table, right? That we need to know the degree of freedom in order for us to understand whether the data that we got is important or not. So we have the degree of freedom is 2. And then usually, for psychology, the significance level, anything below 0.05 is going to be significant for us. In this case, we have, 0.5, it's going to be 5.9. In this case, we are at 22. So it's way down here, 0.001, right? Which tells us that the data that we have are significant. So hopefully I didn't confuse you too much. And if you watch the lecture material, it makes much more sense. All right. So again, you have the data, so for the chi-square, you need the observed data, you need to calculate the expected data, and then you sum them up. And then you calculate the degree of freedom, which 3 rows minus 1, and then column minus 1, you times them together. And then you look into the table to understand your result, whether it's important or whether it's not important, right? Any questions so far? And I know that my connection is it's not good, so I'm not sure how much of it you understood. Don't feel shy. If you have any questions, let me know, because this is something that you have to turn in right now. So you can find this. This is actually the lecture slides. So if you go to the main page on Canvas, the lecture, and you open up week 1. This is one of the, I think it's lecture 1-2 that I downloaded the PowerPoint. It's available online. So let me give you guys one more example so you have some sort of idea what's going on. So this is a two-way observational table. And then we have males and we have females. So we have those in groups and we have those in that are alone. We have the total, and then in order to get these expected values, right, that are important. So for 142, we have 230, which is the total of males, times 62 and divided by 100, right? And then when you get 62%, the total of male is 62%, and then for the female we have 179, which is the 74% of the total. So you have to add 230 plus 179, which is going to give you a total, and then out of that, 230 divided by the total is going to give you times 100 is going to give you 62% of the total, and then you have 74%, and that's how you calculate. Right? Good. So, any questions? So again, the PowerPoints are online. So if you were confused about anything and you wanted to figure it out. And then in order to calculate those, what is best in the class, we have a class calculator. So you don't actually have to calculate anything. You just have to punch in the number, the observed number, and then expected number, and it's going to give you the result. So you don't have to do any of the calculation. For the easier, calculations. So let me go ahead and show you variation. All right. All right. So this is the web page right here. And then if we go to the module, there is a class calculator right here. And keep in mind that you have to download this. You can't use it on Canvas. You have to download it to your computer, and then it's going to work out, right? So once you download it, I have downloaded it. Let me go ahead and share my chi-square demo. So share screen. So here we go. Share. So now this is the calculator for chi-square. So the blue are the observed. The first one is observed. It doesn't really matter which is which. So we have you punch in the observed value and you punch in the expected value, right? And you have to calculate those, and then it's going to give you the result. It's going to give you the chi, and you punch in your expected value. These are the column. So these are observed, right? And these are the expected value, and it's going to spit out the final results. It's going to give you, okay, the p-value is going to be less than 0.5, which is going to be important for our purpose, or whether it's not. So what is important is that it has to be what we consider significant. It has to be less than 0.05, right? Those results are significant for us. That means there is some sort of connection. There is some sort of importance. If not, then it doesn't matter. So as the chi-square is bigger, there's a difference, more significant, and as the chi-square is smaller, then there is not much difference or significance. Okay. So now, if we go over again, hopefully I haven't confused you too much, but you're welcome to ask me any question anytime. So now, if we go to the observational study that we just did, right? Let me go ahead and share my screen. So now for the tally marks that when it comes to null hypothesis and for the alternative hypothesis. So usually with the null hypothesis. Usually what null hypothesis is for the chi-square is that we want to see if the results are important, if there is a connection or there is a relevance. And so we want to say for the null that there is no connection, there is no relevance, there is no significance. And for the hypothesis, we want to say is, right? And then what I want you guys to do in your groups and ask each other a question if you don't know the answer or you're lost about anything, or you can come back and ask me. So to use the chi-square, so we have, this is our chart, right? And you have the number, so you have to add them up, get the total, and you have to, for the aggressive act, you add them up, get the total, you you have the observed value, you calculate the expected value, like I said, like we figured out, right? And then you punch it into the equation. So you have observed counts, you have minus expected counts squared first. After you figure out the top part, you divide it by the expected value and you add this up. So you should have 4 of these for each chart, for each space. So you have 4 spaces, you should have 4 of the chi-square, and you sum them up, right? And then so the data AA right here means that you have aggressive acts, right? And PA means pro-social acts, and then B is for the bug bunny, and then for D is for that Duffy Duck, right? So, and then in order, and then you as you get the result, you punch it into the scroll. Okay, and after you get the result, you see if it's whether it's significance or whether it's not significant, right? And also, let me help you guys with how many for degrees of freedom? How many degrees of freedom do we have? So we have 2 rows and we have 2 columns. So using that formula, rows minus 1 times columns minus 1, you can figure out this the degree of freedom. And the part 2, I'm going to send you guys back to your groups, and I want you guys to figure out the answer, and we are going to go over it as a class, whether the hypotheses were significant or not. So you have any questions, anything you're confused about, anything you want me to re-explain. No? Okay, so let's do this in your groups. Let's take about 15 minutes or less, and then let's finish this up.
Professor, are we still in our groups?
Say that one more time.
Yeah, my computer just crashed. Is it possible to rejoin my group?
We are all.
Oh, we're back already. Sorry.
We are gonna go. Yeah. So everyone's here. Let's go over the answer. Let me go ahead and share. Sure. So for the hypothesis, what you should have come up with that so for the hypothesis, for the null hypothesis, like I said, we wanted to say that there is no significant difference in types of the acts that are committed by the two characters, right? And then for the hypothesis, for the alternative hypothesis, we want to say that there is some sort of a significance difference of the type of acts that are committed. And then we run, in order to determine this, we run the chi-square analysis, right? And then once you do the chi-square analysis, you come to the degree of freedom, which should be 1. And if your answer, if your final answer is exceed the 3.84, which is the value for the degree of freedom 1 under 0.05. If it exceeds that, that means we have a significantly the difference is significant. So our hypothesis, the alternative hypothesis, is correct, right? Okay. So and then on the last worksheet, which is basically the same thing of the chi analysis, and we will let me go and stop sharing. So if you go to the same web page on the lecture, on the third document, if you download that, you should be able to see this, which I'm gonna share right now. So its name is chi-square analysis, and if you go ahead and download that, you should be able to see this. Okay, and this is the last thing, that this is what I want you guys to submit, and either I'm going to send you guys back. You don't have to stay here. We're done. But let me just go ahead and cover this. And then this is what you are going to do, and whether if you download this, if you write on this, you can submit it to you can submit this, or you can take a picture of your handwriting that you have calculated or anything, and submit it, and I'll show you where to submit it. So this, this is what I just went through in the lecture, and this is Shaxter, research that you should have seen the video on lecture, whether the high anxiety groups, whether the groups that have, the stimulus was the anxiety, whether those people are in high anxiety and low anxiety prefer to stay together in a social contact, or they don't care of whether they're in groups or not, or whether they rather to stay alone. So this is calculated for high anxiety and low anxiety, and we have the total for together, that participants don't care or they were alone. And so what we want you to do is to do the chi analysis for the Shaxter. So if you let me go ahead and show you guys. So this is what you actually have to calculate. So these are the observed value again. So and then you have degree of freedom. You have 2 rows. You have 2 columns. You have the total for high anxiety, low anxiety, and you have the total for together. And we add 2 groups together, don't care, and we add those together right here in this chart. And then you have the percentage already, so you just have to calculate the expected value, like I said, punch this number into the chi analysis, add them up. You have the degree of freedom. You calculate the row -1, column -1. So 2 - 1 times column, which is 2, 2 - 1, you should get 1. And after you calculated that, you come up with the significant p-value in right here, and then you come up with the chi-square final answer right here, and then you submit this, and then also there's one more example, and yes.
550.
Oh, you got to mute. Anyways, so and then there's another example. It's the same thing, but it's written out differently, and I want you guys to figure it out. So 37%, if you read this, 37 of psychologists, let me read you the question. So if you read the question, let's look at the example on using the chi-square distribution to test the observed distribution, which involves the single variable with multiple categories, right? This is the one type study. So what you do to figure out the degree of freedom, so we have one category, two, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 category. In order to come up with the degree of freedom, your 5 minus 1, it's going to be 4. So our degree of freedom in this example is going to be 4. So again, you do the same thing. You come up with the chi-square, and then whether what was the p-value on the chart that you see, right? And you submit this, and you submit this. This is much easier if you run it in the class calculator. It's going to take you 5 to use this. So you put observed value here, expected value that you calculate, and it's going to spit out the chi value and whether it's important or not, whether it's the what is the p-value, whether it's significant or it's not significant. And I will show you guys how to submit this. So if you go ahead and share my. So if you go to your dashboard, you go to Psych 112 LM, Lab 2. And under assignment, you have Lab 2, week 2 submission right here. And then if you click this open, it should be different. So if I go to student view, when you open this, you have the option right here to start assignment. And once you do, you just have to upload your file right here. And I leave this open till 11:59 p.m. So if you're tired, you want to take a break or anything, you can do that, but you have till tonight, 11:59. If you pass this deadline, I'm supposed to do it at 6, but I'm doing it at 11:59. If you pass this, unfortunately, you're going to lose the points for today. So make sure that you submit this. It's not necessarily has to be right. So, but I'll go over. That's all for today. So what I'm going to do, I'll be here till the end of the hours for the discussion. I will send you guys to the groups. You can leave if you want, or you can do it as group together to finish it up and be done with it. But if you have any questions, I'll be here to answer till the end of the class time.
I have one question. How can we upload this? I'm sorry, I missed that part. My internet switched off. Can we upload like the whole? Do we have to handwrite it, or can we just type it and upload it?
Anything, it doesn't matter. As long as you show me that you have the answer.
Okay.
You can handwrite it and take a picture of it and upload that, or you can write it on the documents or type it. Anyhow, I don't.
Okay.
But as far as you put your name on.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.